Okay, so we're going to be looking at two things. In front of your homework is going to be more or less a review of mean and median. The back is going to be something more brand new to you, just so you know. But let's first start with a review. You probably did this in the 5th grade-ish, maybe 6th grade, just depends. Okay? So first, I'll start over here in the mode. Mode is the most common. So if we're looking at this list, it's plain as day to see that 2 is most common. And since that is so simple, it's really something we don't do anymore. You did in elementary school because, for some, actually looking at this list and saying that 2 is the most common is a skill and something they have to get good at. At this level and what we've done with numbers so far, you can look at this and think to yourself. You don't even tell yourself to think what's the most common. You just look at this and right away know 2 is the most common. That's not something we're really going to do too much. Okay? But it is called the mode, but okay, not that big of a deal. Mean, you know as an average. And median, slightly different, middle. Now, for both of these, they turn out to be the same answer, which is not always the case. But recall that average means add everything up. So we get 20 over 5, so the mean or average is 4. The median just says take the middle number. Usually you cross off in pairs the list that's in order in some order, least to greatest or greatest to least, and you cross off the highest and lowest in pairs. So the 2 will cross off with the 7, the biggest number, smallest number cross off, and you do that in pairs until you're left with 1 or 2 numbers. In this case, there's 1 number left over. That's the median. That's the middle. The median has a more general definition. Like if you go down Euclid, you see the trail and the road, the dirt, the trees in the middle of the road. That's called a median. Sometimes it's like a real big thing like Euclid. Sometimes just like a little grass area with sprinklers. Those are called medians, and if you actually read, when you read the driver's, when you read the California driver's handbook, when you guys have to take the driver's ed test at the DMV, there are rules about people crossing the street, and if there's a median, you can't turn right until they get to the median. That's halfway through. But if there's no median, you have to wait for them to cross the whole street. So the word median is used to describe the middle of a lot of things, but you'll see it specifically in driving DMV handbooks, things like that. So just think the middle. Now, in general, these two are used to describe these numbers. What you're trying to do is saying, I have 5 numbers. What's one number they're all really close to? And that's what these are used for. It's trying to take a lot of information and come up with one number. Because it's a lot easier to tell somebody one number or 1% or something. People can understand one number very well, especially when it's percent. So that's what all this is attempt to do. Get one number to describe 5 numbers. So 4 is really close to 2, 2, 4. It's close to 5, semi-close to 7, not that close though, but it is one number that's pretty close to all of them. That's the general purpose of all this. Find one number. Okay, let's skip to something more interesting. Okay, so mean here. Feel free to write these examples down. Add up all the numbers. So I'm just going to add them up as they are in this order they appear. Divide by. There are 4 of them. So that equals, add those up. What do you get? Again, the calculator is useful here, so you don't have to worry about arithmetic, but these are pretty simple numbers. 31, 39, 49, 59. What do you got? They add up to 16. 64 divided by 4. 16. Now the median, you'll notice here it says median is put in order. Now notice how it does not say ascending or descending, right? It just says put in order. So I'll do descending. 20, 18, 15, 11. And then once again cross off on pairs, and now we're left with 2. Left with 2, we're going to find the mean of these 2. So 18 plus 15 over 2, which will equal 33 over 2, which will equal 16.5. And we'll use 16.5. Use everything with decimals here. So you can see here these are slightly different, but more or less basically the same. Both numbers describe these 4 scores very well. So that was the difference between what we did before. If there were an odd number of values given, the median is going to be whatever number is in the middle. Since you cross off in pairs, there'll be 1 left over in the middle. But if there's an even number of values given, you end up taking the average or mean of the 2 middle. So far, so good? Okay. Nothing. I know it's probably a review, but it doesn't hurt to make sure we know the basics first. Okay. Let's go with, let's do number 4. You guys give this a go. Okay, so the mean. What does the top add up to? 118. There are 28 numbers. Okay. So the mean comes out to $14.75. Median. Okay, so that means the middle 2 are 11 and a 12 then probably. So you should have 11 plus 12 over 2, and you got $11.50. Now here's the question. Now that we got the basics out of the way, which one is better? Which one is better? Which one describes these wages more accurately? Which one's closer to most of them? So 1475 is close to all of these compared to 11.5. Okay, let me do it another way. Let me put these in order. Oh, thank you. Let me put them in order. $13, is that right? 10, 10, 10, 11, 12, 12, yeah, 13 and 40. So, in other words, if you're saying mean, you're saying right over here, 1475, that's pretty close to all these, or is 11.5 close to all these? 11.5 is a better measurement. The median is a better measurement because it is closer. It's only 1.5 away from 10. It's only 1.5 away from 13. So if I go $1.5 each way, I have everything. 1475, that's above all of these. Well, it's not really close to any of this. So why did this happen? Why is it 1475? Why is it so far away from all these? Yeah, because of this right here. This is called an outlier. Okay. This is called an outlier. And when you have outliers, median is the most appropriate between these two. Write that down. Very important. That's probably the most important thing for today, about which one to use and how do you know when to use it. Anytime you have outliers, median will take care of that. Median, as you can see, only used the middle two. It didn't use the 40 in the calculation, so it's not throwing it all off, but mean uses everything. So if there are no outliers, if there's just a bunch of numbers, average or mean is pretty good. It's easier to do. You just add and divide. So that's a plus side of mean. It's kind of easier. You have to put things in order, nothing like that. But if you have some really big or real small number, you have to go with median. That answer will be closer to most of the points. Again, that's your definition. Which one is closer to more of the points, more of the values? All right. So that is part one. Okay. Part 1b, understanding mean as adding to a new value. So the next thing is just developing some number sense. Like, do you understand what happens when you do a new value? Does it move the mean up or down? And while we have golf here, I think the thing you would understand the most would be grades. 80%, 64%, 72%, 76%, 70%. So right now, this person, if these were test grades, would be about a 74.4% average. That's a C. So if they got a 68 on the next test, would this go up or down? Down. Right? It would go down because it's a D. D plus. So it's below the average, so it brings your average down. So people are always asking, what do I got to do on this test in order to raise my grade? Well, if you score, you have to know what your average is on your previous tests. And if you score above that, now your grade goes up. If you score below that, your grade goes down. And some people will text, or not text, but email, and they'll say, Mr. Hodgson, I noticed you put the test grades in, but my grade didn't change. What does that mean? Their score was the same as their average. So if I put in 74.4, that's their next grade, 74.4, right? It's not going to change your average. Your grade's not going to change. So everything is on your grades with weights is done with averages. So that's how these numbers work. Same thing on your final. What's your grade in the class? You know, well, I have an 85% in the class. So that means if you got an 85% on the final, your grade stays 85%. If you got higher than 85%, your grade goes up. Lower than 85%, your grade goes down. So that's how you can tell. That's why your teacher can't really know what you need to get on this test for your grade to go up or down. Because right off the top of their head, they don't know what your averages on your test are. But you do. It's on School, it's in its own category. So you can figure that out on your own. Alright? If your average is 4 and you add in a 4, it will basically stay the same. Depending on the other numbers, it might go up a little bit, down a little bit, or it might be the same, if just depending on the numbers. This one, when you factor in or add in this 4 miles, if you put in another 4 miles, the mean comes out to 3.75. It's basically 4 miles in statistics speak. In stats, 4 miles and 3.75, those are very close to each other. Depending on how you're rounding, 4.375 rounds to 4. They're very close. Okay. And then, of course, if you have B minus F, 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 and then all of a sudden you have an average of 55, but then you get another B minus, your grade would increase. Yeah. So you can understand. Anytime you get a situation you're like not sure, just use grades as a frame of reference, and that will probably give you a good idea. Yeah, if it's higher than average, your average goes up. I do better on this test, my grade goes up. I do worse, my grade goes down. Kind of obvious at this point, but at the beginning, I'm pretty sure if I asked you, it'd be like kind of maybe have the right answer, but not sure. But now we're very confident. Okay, that's part 1. That's all the review stuff. Median and mean. Okay, I'm going to keep on going right through this. Write things down. It's going to be a lot of information. I don't want you to come here tomorrow like, well, how do you do this one? Well, on your notes, it's right here. Oh, wait a minute, you didn't do notes. That's why you're asking me. So don't sit there and say, I don't want to write stuff down, and ask somebody later, how do you do it? Okay? So range. 2 possible ways of looking at this. These are already arranged from least to greatest. Some would say in just regular everyday language, if somebody asks you the range, well, what's the range of prices? You know, someone might say like, oh, the range is like $2 to $7. That's the range. That's one way of looking at it. However, for our purposes, our range is always going to be the max minus the min. So we'd take the max, which is not 5, it's 7, minus 2, and our range will be 5. Okay, our range will be 5. But just know, every day people might just say, you know, usually with cost, what's the range? They'll give you the lowest and the highest. We're taking the same 2 numbers, but really taking this and reversing it, it's 7 minus 2, 5. Okay. Most important part for today, let's call this 5-number summary. The min, the Q1, the median, the Q3, the max, 5 numbers. But wait, there's more. You're also going to have to find the range and the IQR. So there's really 7 different numbers to figure out. That's why I said each one is simple, but there's 7 of them. Notice how mean or average is not here. So there's 8 total, but 7 of them we're going to use in this one problem, and you have like 5 of these to do. You'll notice that these are arranged in rows. This is not by accident or by randomness. This is the proper way to start these problems. It's very helpful to have 2 rows only, not 3, but 2 rows. It'll help us find these medians and Q1s and Q3s a lot easier. You'll notice that this is descending order. 24 is at the beginning, 1 is at the end. So it's from greatest to least, descending order. It works if you do it the other way, but just all your questions will be given to you this way. Okay, let's do the obvious. The min and the max. What is this? That's the max. And what is this? Yeah, that's the min. Voila. What else can we do with the min and the max? Range. 24 minus 1 is 3. Like we said so far, it's not difficult. It's just you got to know what everything is, definition-wise, right? So we can do this. Median. Now, we'll do this a few times, but you'll catch on to the fast way, the shortcut. So here's the highest, here's the lowest. Next lowest, next highest. Next highest, next lowest. Next highest, next lowest. Next highest, next lowest. Canceling out in pairs. And where are you left? Yeah. So these two, the opposite corners of the min and the max, those will always come out to your two numbers to use for your median. So you have what? 1 plus 2 over 2, which is 3 over 2, 1.5. This happens because we arrange it in these two rows like this. So again, it's very convenient to use this two-row approach. It will put everything in the same place for every problem. You won't have to cross off every single time. You'll just know, okay, the min and the max will be here, and the median numbers will be here. No problem. Now, the Q1 and Q3, those stand for quarter. What's at the end of the first quarter? What's at the end of the third quarter? Okay. So if each of these are a half, what happens if you go halfway of the half? What's half of a half? A quarter. So we go halfway through there, and there's the middle. There's the first, here's the third quarter. So what's in the middle of 9 and 5? 7. So that's the third quarter. And here's the other half on the bottom half. And the halfway point of this half is the first quarter. What's the middle of 1 and 1? Just 1. If you want a strict formula for these, we just did the average. So technically this would be 1 plus 1 over 2, which is 2 over 2, which is 1. But if they're the same number, it's always going to happen that way. Likewise, on the third quarter here, it would be 9 plus 5 over 2, which is 14 over 2, which is 7. But if you can just look at the two numbers and say, well, I know what number's in the middle. It's 7. 7's in the middle. That's fine, too. Okay. And lastly, your IQR. It's like the range for Q1 and Q3. So Q3, 7 minus Q1 is 6. That stands for, if you want to know this, it's fine, but if you don't, that's fine too. You can just write IQR. But this stands for interquartile range. So just remember range. The R here stands for range, and you find it the same way just using the quarters, the two quarters, Q1 and Q3. Same idea, big minus small. The Q3 will always be bigger than Q1. And I almost messed up here. I almost said, well, I found Q3 first. I almost put it here. So just know if I'm checking all these tomorrow, I can tell really fast. If this number is bigger than this number, you flipped everything. So lots of little details, right? What things are called, how to find them, how to check, what order they go in, all that. Okay, let's try, what, one more, two more? Yeah, let's go to here. So we're going to have one extra number on top since we have 9. So median 18. We won't use this because it's 4 before and 4 after. My min and my max 28. 2. Let's see here. Range 28 minus 2 is 26. Now the Q1 and Q2. So what's the middle of these 4? or these two in the middle? What's the middle of these two? That's your Q3. Middle of 26 and 22 is 24. If you want to do a calculation, remember it's just the average. 48 over 2 is 24. If you can just look at this and know, well, 24, it's 2 down and 2 up. That's the middle. That's fine. Q1, what's the middle of 9 and 6? 7.5. So 1.5 up is 9, 1.5 down is 6. 7.5. So the IQR is 24 minus 7.5, which equals 16.5, 16.5. There you go. Now, this is all the calculation part of this. Tomorrow and the next day, 2 days following today, will be called box plots, where you take all this information and graph it. I'll show you how to graph it. However, if tonight you don't really spend the time to do this correctly, the next 2 days will not make sense. Without knowing how to do this correctly, you can't graph it. So make sure you finish it all.